Thanks. Great to be here, everybody. So a little bit about me, for folks who don't know, I've been in the small business technology space for a long time. Eric kind of stole this from me, but Constant Contact, we were ASP before there was SaaS. We had a lot of different channel programs going on there. Then I was with Hootsuite when Snap was just for dating. Now it's a really robust social media platform. And now I'm with Jazz, and I'm with Jazz because there's always musicians looking for work. So that was a joke, So through this period of time, I've had the opportunity to build and work with channels that have thousands of partners that are delivering tens of millions of dollars of revenue to a SaaS business. I've had the opportunity to work with channels that have hundreds and into thousands of partners that were delivering hardly any revenue, and then everything in between. So, so the things I think I would hope to share today is some perspective, some of the challenges, some of the things that I think about when building a channel like we're doing at Jazz. To the extent that there's some information here that you find helpful, you can bring back. That's great. If the information here is not helpful or not up to your standards, be sure to use my nickname on Twitter, which is Sneer. So, all right. So, as I was putting this together, the thing that I was thinking about with channel programs, it really made me think of a garden, right? How many folks here work in gardens or planted a garden? Yep, me neither. But the idea of a garden, right? That's bountiful, right? That is regenerating. That's beautiful. That is something that people want to come and be part of. That's really what you're trying to do when you're building a channel program, right? And it takes effort, right? There's planning that's involved. There's patience that's involved. These channel programs don't get built up overnight, and there's a hell of a lot of process that's involved. And because of that, you really start to thinking about it, and hey, building a channel program is much like building a garden, and we're gonna try to build on this a little bit throughout the presentation. And while we all want to build these great channel programs, how many of us, have one that looks like that, all right? Yeah, exactly. It's like, and it's not because of lack of effort. It's not because of lack of attention. It's just there's a lot that goes into these things. There's a reason why I've really enjoyed being part of channels and partnerships for the last dozen or so years. I mean, you get to touch every part of the organization, right? You're dealing with the sales team and the marketing and the product and operations and everything in between. And there's a lot of pieces to pull together. And when you do it well, it looks great. And when you struggle, it looks like this, but at the end of the day, if you can get it right, it's really going to be something that's going to be successful for your business. So today we'll talk about some of the things that I think about and that I focus on as I look to build some partnership and channel programs. Going backwards again. So let's start with the concept of the soil. Right? You can't have a nice garden, you can't have a beautiful garden if you don't have a great base, a great soil base. And channel programs are no different. You need to have an infrastructure in place that you're going to be able to rely upon so that you can not only grow your revenue through a channel, but then extend the channel program out so that it can support multiple initiatives. So one, you need soil. The second, you need these seeds, right? You need to find the right partners that can enable you to grow this channel over time. And they're going to be able to grow and bring the fruits of the effort into the garden, and something that you're going to be able to really appreciate over time. The third piece are the tools. What tools are you going to use to actually enable this channel, to motivate this channel? What do you want to do as you're really looking to build it out, and what tools are you going to put in their place? And then no channel program is going to be successful without farmers, right? Everybody needs partner managers or farmers in order to really make sure that the tools and the seeds and the soil, everything's working together. So we're going to talk a little bit about how all this comes together, about some of the things that we've done at different programs that I've been involved with, that I've seen other folks do as well, and maybe some things that you guys are trying on your own. let's talk about the application, right? You know, one, you've got to have a product that's right for the channel. Not every product. I was having breakfast with my friend Scott this morning. He actually said this. He's like, not every solution is right for a channel. The beauty is, in the B2B space, just about every B2B solution should be right for a channel, because small businesses, as we know, buy and learn from their trusted advisors, right? The people who are face to face with them, who are advising them on their business, who are telling them the next thing that they need to be focusing on. And if you can really tap into that and get the face-to-face exposure for your company, that's going to really be powerful for you. But not every product is a solution that's right for a channel program. You know, once you've nailed that, then it really becomes about the organizational dynamics. There is no way, and I have the first thing, can the volume be strategic to your company? If you can't walk in and guarantee or project that your channel can grow to 20 or 30% of the revenue within, let's say, 2 years, you're not going to get the resources that you need to grow it. So you have to be looking at a channel that's actually going to be able to deliver real revenue to your company. With Jazz, we're looking to bring our channel from 10% to 50% over the next few years through a successful partner program. And all the other partner programs that I've been with, you know, the objective has always been to hit and exceed at least 30% of revenue, and certainly some folks are looking the other way where they're looking to get to 80 or 90%. But you have to be really laying it down so that your revenue is going to be significant to the company. The next thing is ensure it has visibility. This is something that if you don't have your channel program on the exec agenda every week, where people are measuring it, they're measuring what's your partner interest, how many partners are applying to the program, how many are coming on board, what's the yield or revenue that you're getting from these partners, and it's something that the product team is hearing, and the marketing team is hearing, and the sales team is hearing. If it's not on the exec agenda, it's not getting the visibility that it needs, and that's when you're going to struggle to get the resources assigned to it that you need to be assigned. Making sure that it can coexist within a sales organization, right? We heard earlier today about making sure that the sales team is incented. How many folks here have their sales team incented on the channel? Yeah. How many don't? How many have a channel where the sales team isn't incented? This is really critical. Your best salespeople are already talking to probably some of your best partners, and you don't even know it, right? That's what they do. They're finding outlets to get to more customers. And they're just doing it in getting the leads directly into themselves, closing the leads. It's great. The bottom line is going up for the company. Everything's going great. The problem is when you're measuring the resources and the channel and the investment and everything else, the revenue's not lining up where it needs to be. The way that we typically solve something like this is we incent the salespeople to really, well, first we educate them on who our successful channel partners are going to be, and then when they're interacting with people on the phone who have the profile of a channel partner, we want them to refer them into the channel program, and then they get credit for all the revenue that comes from that partner over the next fixed period of time. Sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's a year, but it makes sure that they are incented to continue to find those nuggets, because if you don't, you're still getting the revenue, but again, the revenue is getting split up into the different programs. Don't underestimate the impact on systems. How many people here thought they could build a channel partner program without touching the systems, right? It's impossible. Or it's not impossible, it's challenging, I should say. You get really good at spreadsheets. But the reality is that the way that you measure this all has to be tied together, and this is why having it as an exec level item is going to be critical to what you're doing. And then planning, which channel to focus on first, which we'll talk about in a second. So the right partners. Now, the right partners are actually, you know, I think all of us here have really tried to identify who the right partners are for our business. The place that, you know, I don't know if you've all started there, the place that I typically start is our existing customers. Most of the time, your existing customers, or a chunk of them, were already referred into your business from from their trusted advisor, somebody who learned about you, somebody who knows about you and told them to go there. And what you need to do is really start to uncover that. So you always start with customer interviews to find out who are the folks that are referring them in, to find out why they're focusing on your business. I don't know if people knew this, but when I was in the Constant Contact in the Hootsuite days, you know, the mid-level marketing agencies who have, you know, 10, 20, 30 employees, There are folks at those companies that are carving out roughly 1 day a month to do nothing but look at new technology so that they know what technologies to recommend to their customers. So you've got to go out and find who these businesses are, and a lot of times that's going to start with talking to your existing customers. Once you've figured that out, you have to identify, whether this channel is going to be something that can be replicable, right? Can you replicate this channel into like segments? And what I mean by that is there's going to be a whole chunks of businesses that you can start with. You can start with marketing agencies, you can start with managed service providers or IT consultants, or you can start with maybe franchise and distributor systems, but you can't tackle them all at once. You really have to nail one of them. So you got to focus on one, build the resources underneath that can then easily extend to the next group, and then tackle it off that way. And then once this gets going, you're going to be able to easily then really start to expand your program so that you can get from 100 to 500 to 1,000 to 5,000 and on it goes. Because the real goal of a successful partner program in a lot of cases will be the volume of partners that come in the door. I don't know how many folks here have worked on partner programs where the focus is working with the local providers versus the larger small business providers. But when we built this at Constant Contact, we built it at Hootsuite, now we're building it at Jazz. The local, you really almost need both strategies to work, but the local providers are the ones that are constantly working with 30 or 50 customers at a time, and you really want to be able to tap into them and make it so that it's easy for them to find you and move on. The next piece we'll talk about a little bit are there tools that you need to provide, and I think we heard earlier today a little bit about revenue share, and it was very common to sort of what we found as well, which is revenue share is great because it creates a monetary relationship with your channel partners. It's not the be-all, end-all of why most of them are going to want to work with you. The reason why most of these partners are going to want to work with you is because relevance. You're going to be able to make them relevant in a whole new part of the business that they need to extend to. So that means that they're going to want to get from you something beyond revenue. They're going to want to get access to your content. They're going to want to get access to early features. They're going to want to get maybe time with the CEO or the head of product. Those are the things that are really going to get them excited to continue to want to work with you. The revenue piece is great. It does create a reason for them to obviously put some money in the bank and remind you of why you're working for you. But at the end of the day, if Jazz costs $150, $200 a month, and for every customer they refer us, they're getting $25, $30. That is peanuts compared to what they're trying to get from the rest of their customers. So it meets a need, but it's not going to accelerate. One of the things that we've also found is managing the revenue share at the start of the program versus as the program matures. Is anyone struggling with that today? Is anyone struggling with sort of their revenue share on a mature program? Because what you find is when you're building a program, let's say you create you create either one tier or multiple tiers, you have 15, 20, 25% revenue. People come in, they start signing up, and they introduce you to one client, then they introduce you to the next client. And everything's going great, and after 2 years of this, now you're up to your 25 or 30% of revenue, and you go into the November planning session, and you say, I'm going to grow this thing 50%, and everyone's like, all right, let's give Kevin some money, right? We're going to give him some money to grow this thing 50%. You turn around, and your partners are like, I already gave you all my partners, and I'm not looking to grow, right? So the point is, you end up with potentially 1,000 partners who have already given you all the customers they're going to give you. And that's the point at which you have to change the compensation model that you're working with your partners. So when you're launching, we launch with usually revenue share for the life of the customer and the life of the partner contract. But we know as we get into this, 1-2 years down the road, eventually we're going to saturate the customers that some of our partners are going to bring us. And now we have to look at different incentive options to continue to make sure that we're putting the resources into the partners that can continue to grow the bottom line. Because at the end of the day, what your exec team, what your board team is looking for is net new revenue in the door. And if you've already tapped out the existing partners that came on, now you've got to change up how you do that. And that's when you have to evolve your strategy a bit and make sure that the incentive programs that you're putting in are actually going to incent faster onboarding behavior than maybe you would incentive in the early stages. I think that there's a few things that I've found that are really helpful when you get out the door of the program, things that you want to make sure you pay some attention to, right? One is obviously a partner portal. You really need a partner portal to get going. There's a lot of debate, in a lot of companies as far as, do we build this ourselves? Do we outsource a partner portal? I personally don't. I would lean towards outsourcing your partner portal, only because I know how hard it is to get engineering resources a year, 2 years down the road when you want to change it. But certainly every company makes their own decisions on this. But you definitely need a portal where people can be able to track the revenue, not only the revenue that they're getting from you, but the user activity of the clients that they've sent you. And the reason for this is, again, if you're dealing with people who are local, who are smaller, who have 20, 30, 50, 100 clients, they need to be able to easily go into this portal and find out what's the latest activity that my client has done with Jazz or Hootsuite or Constant Contact or whatever your product is. If there's not an easy way for them to do that, then they're not going to bring you into a prep session that they have with their client, and they're not going to be able to strategically talk to their client about your business, because they're going to talk to them about the things that they know. So you need to be able to give them quick and easy tools so that they don't have to log into every account to get this themselves. But how many times have they logged in this month? How many, what's their activity? How many employees have they added? How many emails have they sent? Whatever your metric is, give them a quick snapshot for them to be able to see the user activity reporting. Multi-login, being able to easily access multiple accounts. I will say the last two there, multi-login, and what I bring this term with me to everywhere I go, single billing. Once you're able to cross the hurdle of multi-login and single billing with your partners, you will see a step level function in productivity from them, because they're no longer going to be getting 20 invoice lines on their credit card or whatever it is. They need one invoice and then go into your portal, be able to see how that breaks down. And that will deliver so much simplicity to their life that they're going to continue to bring you more clients. If they end up spending 2 to 3 hours a month trying to get that information from you, it's going to prevent them from wanting to bring you more business. So we have solved this at all the different companies I've been to. It's not easy at all. The platforms that are tackling this, like AppDirect and others, are really bringing some simplification of that. If you're going to have your team do this themselves, like I've done at different companies I've been to, it's an investment worth making, but it's not one that's going to happen without a lot of effort on your end to make the case. I usually found that actually going deeper into the organization to get a developer and take them to lunch is the easiest way to do this, because a developer will say, yeah, we can do that. It'll take whatever, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe 2 weeks, and then you're armed when you're talking to your CTO a little more. Incentives, I would say that one of the things we learned, we talked a little bit about revenue share. The thing that really just starts to drive volume, and this depends on where you are as a business, is when you can shift from revenue share to bounties, right? So once you have really good information on what your lifetime value is for your customer, how much you're willing to spend to them on your direct marketing efforts, and then you do a calculation and say you'll spend up to some percentage of that for partners who are going to deliver it. Now when partners can make $250 for sending you a lead or a customer, and they're going to get it within the next 30 days, all of a sudden that's something that's really measurable to them, and that brings a lot more value to them over $5, $10, $20 that they may be getting on a monthly basis. And then finally, the two things that I just want to call out that I think a lot of folks focus on, but isn't necessarily required, at least in the small business space that I've seen. One is, and this sounds strange, being on the board of the Small Business Web, but, an API program, right? So everybody wants to have API programs, but to get a channel off the ground, you know, to get one through an ISV obviously requires an API, but to get one through local providers, it doesn't. And so don't let that be a barrier to why you need to invest in the channel. That can always come later. The second one is certification, and this one is kind of interesting because the first partners that you work with are really going to be experts in their field, and they're going to be able to understand your product, understand your service, where it fits into their model. And I know there's going to be a lot of interest to certify them. And that takes a lot of time to develop. And it does, not only does it take a lot of time to develop, it takes a lot of investment from the partner. And the early partners coming in are not going to, are going to be hesitant to invest 20, 30, 40, 60 hours, whatever you put in front of them to say, you've got to be certified on my product. Instead, you want to focus on having a rich enablement program that has tools that they can leverage when they need to, but don't put that barrier of time in front of them, at least in the early stages, because the ones who you're going to be working with, who are going to be excited to work with you, are already going to have a really good understanding of the market and of your product. Certification comes in as you start to expand the sphere of your partners and you start to get further and further away from maybe who your ideal partner is, but you know, people who are a little bit further out and need to be a little bit more educated. But out of the gate, don't necessarily, like again, I'll just make, like, I haven't put it into early stages of partner programs that I've been involved in, but it is something that comes in later. The next piece is, you know, the partner managers. So you can't build a channel program or a partner program without having the concept of partner managers, and it's up to you to figure out how this works for your business. But you know, these are people who obviously are relationship driven, not necessarily, you know, with a sales focus, but a little bit less sales focused than maybe your account executives. But it's critical to the success of the channel because they're the ones who really need to be maintaining that relationship, keeping them excited, keeping them motivated to bring you customers. If you're relying on just marketing campaigns to do it or email campaigns to do it, your best partners or your best prospective partners going forward will easily just leave your system, and before you know it's happened, they'll already be on your competitor's software and moving on. So having these people you know, available, picking up the phone, talking to them is important. When we were starting this at Constant Contact, that was one of, you know, we started to get the applications in, and I just started picking up the phone and calling people. You know, I would send them an email and point them to all these things, and then I would just pick them up the phone and call them. You don't connect with everybody, but just the fact that you let them know that you're there to support them if they have any questions was critical. You know, people would blog, oh, I just got a call, you know, from Constant Contact. They're really helping me out to build my business, and it really created a tight structure. You've probably seen this on your direct sales as well. But it really ensures that they know they have a go-to person, and that's what they want, right? So partners who are going to want to continue to bring you business, this is the next piece that they're required, because if they're getting a call from their client that says, hey, you sent me over to this software, you know, you sent me over to Hootsuite, and you know, now I have all these problems that I keep calling into support and I'm getting pushed around. You know, the partner manager can be the beginning of their escalation path. And actually, when we put this in place before, the partner manager would just be a quick access to the tier 2 and the tier 3 support team. So it was really saying, look, these are people who are we doing 2 minutes? These are people who you know, already know the product, they already know the service, and they don't need to go through our normal support channels. So we didn't necessarily build out partner support, but we leverage our top tier support channels for them. And then, you know, we've been using sort of 2 to 5 times what a salesperson does is what the revenue targets should be, or what we've used for partner managers. So that gives you, they should be more productive from a revenue perspective than your typical partner team. And then finally, you know, what are you going to grow, right? So the field is yours. You know, come out and put all your tools and farmers together, and good luck with your program. So that's it.
So we got time for a couple of questions. Dwight, have a question?
So two questions, and maybe this is something else that you could follow up with, but I don't know if you have any suggestions on channel management software programs That would be certainly. I'd be interested in your perspective there as to what you've chosen.
Yeah.
And on the channel managers, I'd be interested to understand if you are compensating them with some sort of revenue target.
Yeah. So on the channel management programs, we've always settled on either homegrown or Salesforce, right? And we chose Salesforce because it. What?
Are there any better options?
We looked at Relayware, and was it Treehouse? I think was one that we looked at. But I mean, that's why you end up, there's a lot of pressure to put it onto Salesforce because a lot of folks are using that for their sales functions, and obviously the CIO and the ops team and the president, so that's like, it's not a battle. It's not a battle worth fighting. It's like, okay, there's no easy answer that I found. Yeah, the channel partner managers, to the way that I've done it and seen it done. Salespeople usually have like monthly quotas and monthly commissions, and then we have quarterly revenue targets for the channel partner managers. They do have incentives, but the incentives flatten out pretty quickly, so they can over earn. But then it usually gets capped off so that you're protecting yourself against some lumpy revenue, because you could easily have a partner come in with like a deal that kind of blows the whole revenue structure up. So that's how we've done it. Yeah, and to the earlier speaker's point, we also getting this off the ground, we double comp the sales and the channel folks.